I think for me, Word is my art form, right? So I use Word when it comes to writing. I use Word in conversation. And it's my favorite art form to play with. Podcasting is now a new medium of this. And it's how are you using Word to create these completely different artistic pieces? Because if I look at each podcast as a piece of art, and I'm painting the picture with somebody else, it's a collaborative art form now, which is so different than anything I've done. So it's finding that ebb and flow. I can create this outline. We could have the first question, and all of a sudden you've taken what I've written from here over there.
Right.
My one notion to myself in all this is every time I go and I sit and I do an interview, it's not about me. Yes, I can express my opinions and my views, but it's I'm here interviewing you because I want to share your mindset and your life with the world, not my life.
Yeah, but the part that's about you is the search, because you're really in search for more.
Yes.
Right? So it's that part will come out naturally, but it really is about you. Because every single interview, you're going to learn a great deal.
Yes.
Especially when you start interviewing a bunch of old people like me. Really?
No matter where this goes, let's say it's an ultimate success, beautiful, great, whatever. But it's already success in itself in starting because I'm having these conversations. I'm going and having conversations with people, intentional ones, where I'm sitting down and I'm discovering more about what I want to know.
Right.
And the byproduct of sharing it, what a beautiful thing to be able to offer to the world. But at the end of the day, just doing it, I already gained so much from.
That's you in a nutshell. I mean, I'm a huge fan of yours because of that.
Thank you.
Because, I see a lot of me in you, but you're a bigger thrill seeker, I think. But the stuff you do, Dawn and I sit back and we just applaud you. Like, the things you have learned on your path already, I'm sure are, incredible. But you don't stop. You just don't stop. I'm talking to your dad. Where is she? What? And Dawn's like, you don't know? She did a post. She was over here. What the hell? What happened to Hawaii? What happened? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of, you get me?
A lot of movement, a lot of different things. It's funny. I'm not done. I'm not done traveling. I'm not done with the adventure. I mean, as you said, the world could change the next 5 years and we don't know what travel looks like. And I think having travel taken away from me because of the pandemic, which I still found my ways, I road tripped and all that stuff, but realizing that it can be taken away in a minute, we never thought that. We never thought we'd lose the ability of our freedom to go and travel to other places.
Exactly.
And I think in losing that, I realized how much I valued it, which is the paradox of everything, right? When you lose something, you realize how much you really wanted it in the first place. And that, for me, I still feel like that chapter of traveling is not over yet because, first of all, the world's changing and I want to watch it change from different perspectives. Who knows, the next 10 years, I think a lot of change is about to happen pretty much everywhere in the world. Yeah. Everywhere. Hi, welcome to the Search for More podcast, where each week we dive into the life of an individual to learn more about their path and search in life. I'm here today in Scottsdale, Arizona with Thomas Weatherspoon. He is a master trainer. He's trained various athletes from around the world, and especially here in the US, to take them to the top level, allowing them to be NFL first draft picks. First round picks. Sports, see?
And I'm honored to be the one she chose to work the kinks out with. So
I think the kinks will be being worked out with for a bit. As you probably know, it takes training in any avenue.
In every avenue.
This is the practice part. It's all just a practice, life in itself.
And as long as you enjoy it, you're good. As long as you're having fun doing it, you'll master it in a short period of time. One of the things that I learned coming up was part of the wisdom that I've accumulated over the 40 years of working with professional athletes, is that the guys who are the best at what they do, they're the greatest students, first of all. You have to be a great student in order to be a great leader. But they never looked at the endeavor from the mind of a student. They always looked at it from the mind of a master, knowing one day they were going to master this program. For me, knowledge of self is God. There's an entity, there's a power, there's a source of a creation for everything. And that power source is you. You're an extension of that source. Yes. You're the reason we can clone things, right? We can take one cell and make a whole new you because you exist in that one cell. So just like us, right? We're each a cell of the source that created all of this.
Yes.
Everything that's in us is in the source, and everything in the source is in us. So we can never be separated from it. Where there's no way to break it. You're infinitely connected.
Yes.
Right? So having that foundation of self, all right, gives you the comfort in knowing that none of this is by accident. None of who you are, none of what drives you, none of your desires to do, see, learn, this podcast, none of this is by accident. This was already written, right?
Yeah.
And the sooner we accept, we would say maybe your destiny, I would say, as soon as you accept the fact that you are self, as soon as you accept that the quicker you'll accept your path, right? And my path was, like you, a path of self-discovery. Mm-hmm. I wanted to learn more about self. I wanted to master, the ability to manifest and create. I want to make magic. I was more interested in the magic of it all. I call it the awe and the mystery. Mm-hmm. I was in this play or this dance with the divine, and I was like, man, that's cool. Oh my God, let's see if we can do this. Man, that's great, right? And so it gave me a unique perspective of the world, and that I was looking more for the miracles that happen every day and less of what actually happened in the news and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because you get a choice. You can be bombarded down with all the negatives that are going on in the world, or you can stay on the path of self-discovery. I think the path of self-discovery is cooler by a long shot.
It's so interesting too. I was reflecting about exactly what you were just saying on my drive over here. And I was just thinking about what we choose to pay attention to, and how so many of us choose to pay attention to all the negative, the downfalls, because that's what's amplified, right? But you don't hear about the small acts of love, whether it be self-love or love with family or love of the society that you're encompassed by. And I was sitting there and I said, what if we professed every little miracle that happened every day?
Oh, yeah.
The news would be filled with it. We wouldn't have space for the negativity. But what has happened now in the day and age is negativity.
Fear sells.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fear sells, and it controls.
And if you don't have access to a lot of information, if you weren't strongly educated, then you're seeking for some facts, mm-hmm. right? And we have given it to you. You can turn it on at 4 times a day, mm-hmm. right? And I'll give you facts.
Yeah.
We know that that's, bullshit. But there are a bunch of people who are saying that's facts. That's the reality.
This is all that is. This information that's being presented to me, this is the truth. This has to be the veritable truth because it's on the news.
It's like my parents coming up, right? 2 very hardworking, brilliant people, but neither one of them were highly educated. Mm-hmm. Right? My dad, I think he went to the 3rd grade, and then he's from the South. You have to go in the fields and work after the 3rd grade. So they did whatever they were told was the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. Put your money in a savings account, have a checking account, do this, do that, do this, right? And hadn't they learned better as they went along, it would have drove them right into the ground. Doing what you were told to do, mm-hmm. right? And not having access to more knowledge, more wisdom about how to financially make gains and all that stuff. So it's the same way in life with facts about life, mm-hmm. right? Most of us are getting our facts about life from TV.
Shifting now, though.
Because of podcasts.
Because
you're breaking every rule, every norm, right? And there's no big, huge conglomerate saying, I want you to feed them this. Mm-hmm. Because this feeds me financially.
I mean, the fact that we can listen to human conversation now, human conversation that you're not sitting present in. So that's where, obviously, podcasts, YouTube videos,
right.
all media, that's the positive sides of it, right? I mean, there is going to be a day and age probably where it is controlled, but if you just think of right now and what we live in and how, think to the year, 1200, where there was maybe 10 books in an entire village. And now the amount that you probably have in your personal library is more than villages, cities used to have. Right. So it's like we now have access to information that was pretty much untouched before. Now also too, a woman seeking information.
Right. So, but this is the reason that I believe right now you're being bombarded with information. How many books are being published now? It's you know, I'm from writing and publishing books, it's just, it's unfathomable how many books are being published every day, right? So people are buying books and putting them in the shelves. They're buying the books, but they're not reading. They're listening to the podcast, or they're turning stuff on, but they're not
Paying
not
attention.
immersing themselves in it. It's just information that's just bombarding them. And that's now all your social media. It's just information after information after information after information. Wisdom comes from the application of knowledge, right? So if you're in the game to get wiser, and we should be in the game to get wiser as we get older, all right? So that life is easier, so that you eliminate more and more wasted time, energy, people, you know what I mean, that are drawing your time and your energy. You learn how to isolate yourself from the negative and keep yourself on your path to positivity and success. And we learn that from wisdom. But wisdom only comes from application. It doesn't come from studying. You can read all the books you want, but if you don't apply what you learn, you don't grow or you don't change. If you apply one simple bit of knowledge, one simple thing, it'll change your whole life. That's where your power is. And I believe your power was in your peace, because I believe that source, the divine entity in the universe, is the ultimate state of peace, because it exists before anything existed. The ancient Dogon tribe in Africa wouldn't name God. They called God the no thing. Because once you try to define the source of creation, you just limited the source of creation, and there's no limit to a source of creation. So what's God's name? No thing. It's the no thing. Everything comes from the no thing. Like a cell, like a cell. We know that the cell is 99% space. We know everything that's inside the cell. But the wisdom, knowledge, and everything else comes into space. So that's what we are. And so when we get back to being the space, right, rather than the things we're trying to make ourselves into be, that's where our real power comes. That's when we're most intuitive. That's when we can apply pressure whenever we feel like it. That's when we can eliminate bringing in all of the distractions and other people's garbage. We know how to block that or change it. And so for me, for a practice, that became my daily practice. Before I wake up, I try to go into the nothingness, right? I empty myself before I get up, right? That kind of thing. And so I wanted my athletes to do that too. So we eventually put those principles, 19 of them, all on the walls of the gym, around the gym. That's what we're working from. You walked in here with a desire, right? We got to work you till you get to that place of peace, where you know that this is an actuality, that this is an actual success. I need you to bring that desire with you, but I need this to be an absolute. I need you to get to the place where you absolutely know it, and everything we absolutely know, all right, can add to that peace. When you absolutely 100% believe it, have faith in it, have knowledge in it, have the experience of this works, and you go, we're good. All the stuff you're gathering, right? And hopefully part of that is about the self or your belief in self. See, faith is confidence. They're not different, right? They're not one or the other. Faith is a belief. Well, belief turns into faith. Belief can be rocked. Faith can even be shattered with certain wisdom and knowledge that comes up to wipe it out. Knowing is the third stage. I believe in something. I have faith it will show up. When it does, and I called it before it did, now I know it actually happens. And once you get to the point where you absolutely know it to be truth, nothing rocks you. I came in the world to be a teacher, all right? Because I watched everything. I studied everything. When it came to athletics, I come from a family of athletes, right? My idols are in my family. I didn't idolize anybody outside of my family. I was good at sports because I had to play my brothers. I never went to an AAU program. I never had private trainers or anybody who trained me to do anything. We played 4 sports a year. There was no time for all of that. I think I went to a basketball camp once in my life, young life, right? But I never got training from anybody. I just played them. And by playing them, it made me a good athlete, period. So my idols to this day are still my family. My sister, my older brother, who was my everything, my younger brother, who was my force of nature pushing up against me. My younger brother, who's an Olympic gold medalist. He set the Olympic record in 1996 in Atlanta in the triple jump. That record is still present today, to this day. 59, 4 1/4. Very difficult. That day in the Olympics, he broke that record 2 or 3 times while they were competing. He's the only man in the world to break that kind of record into a legal headwind.
Wow.
He's like 5'10", 165 pounds, but he was a beast. His drive was innate. So for me, I got to witness what greatness looks like, legendary greatness looks like, right? Smells like, the whole 9. And I went, that's the kind of drive you have to have, but that drive has to become, a belief. Or the belief happened when he was younger that this could do it, and then he had faith that it would show up. So every time that he competed and he got a little bit better, it showed him that all this work was a definite. And so by the time he's this guy, he knows emphatically who he is, period. That's what greatness takes. That deep knowledge of self, that mastery and manifestation, it's part of it. It's a huge part of it, And so when I train athletes, I tell them 90% of it is showing up. Show up, right? And so we would always say, look, we don't make heart here. When you come to train with me, we don't make heart. That you have to bring through the door when you come in, because I'm going to challenge you. And if you don't have it, you won't be here long. I became really successful at what we were doing because we were the hardest program. You know what I mean? We applied that pressure to kids young. I got to the point where the pros were, coming through, and we were training professional athletes, and we had the kids coming out of college, and they were doing their thing. So we started bringing kids up from like the age of 10, but we made them train right alongside of these other guys. We wanted to have an environment where being great was part of the energy in the room, and then the kids would have something to look up to, right? So a pro would be doing something right next to a collegiate guy whose only dream was to one day become that guy. And then the 10-year-olds, and their dream was to one day be in college. Only 7% of athletes in the entire country go to college and participate in sports. That's from JUCO to D1, right? So it's a really small group of people. It's a small fraternity or sorority, right? And so having that environment enabled us to have an extra person almost in the room. That was the spirit and the energy of the room. So after a while, we were producing the most scholarships of anybody in the country, the most draft picks, the most, we weren't even trying to do any of that. That was just a part of, the process.
When these athletes attain this level of success they've been striving and reaching for so long in their lives, what do you see occur often, mindset-wise? What are the next steps then afterwards?
It depends. It really depends on the mindset of the athlete. It's having the mindset that allows you to think long term. Where there are a lot of athletes who are just super athletic, super great, and they do not think past the moment. And when their careers are up, it gets real shaky. Real shaky.
What do you think are the biggest misconceptions of success?
That it's all about money. I could sit here all day and talk stories about, people who believe that success is all about the money. And once they get the money,
Then what?
yeah, everything starts to unravel.
So what is success to you?
Mastery of self. So eventually we can get rid of, the persona we've been trying to build all this lifetime, taking a little bit of this, I like the way he walks, I like how she said that, or boom, boom, and trying to build ourselves into, this person when that's already defined for us. Who we are is already defined and created for us. And so we eliminate that and then just become the self. That there's nothing in between what I believe I can do or not do. And then once you do that, you let go of any of the thought within it, because most of the separation comes in our thinking, the concepts we create, right? And those concepts we create, they are reflected back to us by life. So we're constantly looking into the mirror when we look out into life, and we're seeing what we think, right? Because we associate with what we think.
Yep.
So it shows up. So this is how I think, this is how I think, this is how I think. And that's what sports is to me, right? It's the barrier breakers. So we don't keep allowing society to compartmentalize us and say, this is who you are. It's a different mindset. It's a way different mindset. And so it's transcended, just normal understanding or normal thoughts about how this process works. You have to have already knocked those walls down. So if you've knocked those walls down already, what else is coming up that you can't knock down?
What have been your walls?
Sense of limitation or lack. Growing up the way we grew up, that was a major wall I had to knock down, right?
How did you do it?
I still work on that, right? Okay. That process. Anybody looking outside will go, you killed those walls. What are you talking about, right? But that's always a process. Being infinite is what we're asking you to do. In my training, my books, I'm asking you to be infinite, right? Which is a hard one to do because the whole world is telling you you're not. You're finite. What
exactly do you mean by being infinite?
Your power of your imagination, right? Who was it? What's his name? Neville Goddard taught us, came into the world to teach us that your imagination is God. Stop it, right? Then Einstein came behind him and said, yeah, it's the most important aspect of everything. Supersedes any knowledge you're ever going to get, because how can you think? Imagination gives us the ability to think beyond our limited education. I don't care if you're the most learned person on the planet, right? They'll come up. You'll come against obstacles you can't outthink, and then you go to sleep and you'll have a dream and you'll imagine, and boom, there's your answer. Huh? So becoming infinite to me means living in your imagination and never coming out of it. But we live in a society that tries to break that from us at a very young age, right? Sports, for me, is a field where we can break that understanding, because there is no making it, right? That's another false understanding of success. That's that somehow you win at this, right? That sports, because we're all about winning in sports, but when it comes to life, nobody wins in life.
No.
Yeah. What do you mean? You won.
We all end up in the same place.
And so there is no winning in that way. So success can't be about, all that you've accomplished. For me, it has to be about the peace you walk in every room with. Knowing who you are. And that you can smell on people. You know it. You could absolutely, as soon as they walk in a room, they change the energy of the room. And I really believe, like you said earlier, we live in a society that feeds us fear, 100% of the time, because it gets us to buy stuff, right?
Absolutely.
Period. Makes us consumers, and then a group of corporations can make tons of money, right? And then have more influence and power because they can buy governments, right? That's all it's about.
Hello, American capitalism.
But, but you can easily fill yourself with as much positive as they are filling us with fear. turn the fear off, and like you said, pull up all of the information about all the miracles that are happening every single day. And my business partner, when we were doing that, she used to do that all the time. Like, stay away from the negative. Look at all the wonderful stuff that just happened today, right? But if you turn on our television, oh, the earth is splitting in Africa. Oh, there's flooding over here. Oh, there's right there.
You only see the negative.
But you don't, yes, and you don't balance that out with all this positive. Because this is nature, right? It's the ebb and flow of nature. So one of the things I like that you have to do with an athlete to get him to become very successful at what he's doing, to break through his barriers, to expand his abilities, is to get him to stop his pendulum from swinging. Right? Because nature teaches us that if your pendulum, which is your understanding, attitude, right, if it's way up here, right, when you're successful, right, it swings, it's going to go the same degree in the opposite direction.
Every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
So what we're having is every high you have in life, boom, you get the same equal low. So you see that a lot. Athletes bust their butts to get this point, they get it. And because they can't control the swing of their own pendulum, boom, the flow, ebb, comes here, bam. And then you see them having a downtime. That's when they're drinking, they're partying, because there's no satisfaction, right? So the key is to try to get them to balance that pendulum.
How?
Down here. Redefine what success is for them, help them redefine it for themselves, right? Help them become their best friend. When you're training athletes, you see a lot of them attack themselves when they can't master a drill. That's a sign for me when I see that happen. An athlete will beat himself up, right? So you if me and you are best friends and you see me struggling like that and I've attacked myself, immediately you would try to get me to correct that.
Absolutely.
It's good. If you're that guy on a field, or on a team, you're running up to your teammates, get your head up. Let's go. Yeah. Come on, baby. We got this, right? We got this. You're better than that. Shake that off, right? Charles Woodson, one of my clients, I used to say, that man got amnesia, right? Because even after I seen him play a game, I'd go, damn, that boy cooked you on that pass when you were covering that receiver. He cooked you. He was like, what receiver? Ain't nobody ever cooked me. What are you talking about? Dude, the whole world saw it. I saw it in replay like 95 times. I have a foggiest idea what you talking about, Spoon. You tripping. And he just walked away, right? He got amnesia. So I started teaching amnesia. Stop trying to live your past. It's over. It didn't happen. Revise it. See yourself only doing great. Don't care what other people say. Why? Why not? Right? Why beat yourself up? Why do that? So teaching a player to do that in real time is real difficult. Manipulate your environment, but don't beat yourself up over it. Become your best friend, right? That slows up the swing from here all the way here. Because your energy is pushing the pendulum, right? So whatever energy you have, let's say you're super successful, right? And you love the success, and it's all about the fact that you created it, and you pat yourself on the back. How wonderful was that? Now I get to go share it with my family, my friends, and here comes the pendulum, boom, 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 and I'm just in love with all that went on. Boom, stops. There's no negative aspect to that, right? And that's what I think in life we're trying to get to. Everybody in life is trying to get to that point, or should be. When I make the cover of the Wall Street Journal, that's the universe giving me back what my desire was. I was desiring to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated, but the universe sending that energy back to me instantaneously started gathering all those other wishes, wants, desires in that area or field of endeavor that people never answered or never allowed to come to them. So it got bigger. So what I was looking for was one thing, and the universe gave it back to me, but by the time it hits me, it's collected all of this dream dust that other people were too afraid to accept.
On top of it as well, you have your measure of what you're shooting for and what your imagination has been able to fathom and create. But what your imagination is capable of producing is in some formats limited, right? Because it's based on whatever...
The infinite.
Yes.
It's based on the infinite.
So
when it came back, it was overwhelming, and boom, it changed my life, and here I blew that dude off, I could care less, right, kind of thing. And it was like, what the, right? But that wasn't what I was shooting for. So that was enormous high, but that high wasn't the end all to be all kind of thing, right? My joy was going back to the field and trying to reduplicate it, blah, 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 right? Yeah. So it allowed me to understand the pendulum whole, analogy, and reaching that balance. And so that's always our struggle, right? Period. If I master it, I'm probably in a cave in Tibet somewhere, What do I need anybody else for? I'm good, But until then, the joy is, you get to do it in everything you do, right? So that's the thing. And for me, after I was done training and I thought I was, going to retire from that altogether and move on to something deeper, there was these years of, I have no damn clue where I exist outside of what I've been doing all these years, right? So I'm just going to exist until my voice speaks again, right? The other battle I had, sense of limitation and lack, the other battle I had was my ego. I was extremely egotistical coming up. I was that cocky athlete, right? But I also had at my foundation the understanding of God and that God lived in you and the whole nine. So all my life, God spoke to me out loud. Like I could hear God's voice, or I could hear the voice in my head telling me, I wouldn't do that if I were you, right? That kind of thing. But to the point where I was almost like, you could think I was crazy because I'd have conversations with myself. So when I got...
All yours just might have been out loud.
Mine was always out loud, right?
Yeah, we all have
But when
those.
I got to the point where I couldn't, when I wasn't going to reach the peak that I wanted athletically, when I would run into, dramas and issues, like 84 Olympic trials, right before then I tore my hamstring. It destroyed me. I went back home. I'm in my apartment and home trying to rehab and everything. My a good friend and a roommate at the time, he goes to the Olympic trials in basketball, Terry Porter. He comes home with the chicken pox. Right? We're both in this little apartment for a couple of days, right? Just licking our wounds and like, what the hell, right? So he leaves for the summer. I'm still there for the summer. And I don't think anything of it that he's got the chicken pox because I had the chicken pox when I was young, right? But I couldn't accept that I wasn't going to reach that goal when I knew that was all the case. So my trainers were like, just do this, do this, do this. You do everything I tell you, in 3 weeks you'll be back up again. I did every single thing they told me. I went right back to training, kind of thing. And I was pushing myself just where I was just psychotic, right? Pushing myself. And one day I get sick, and I'm tired, but I'm still training. I can't really, but I'm having a difficult time just sitting and breathing. And it just got to the point where I had to go to the doctor. And we had a mentor doctor who I went to see. His name's Dr. Dabner. And I go see him, and he's checking on me, and he panics about checking my lungs and stuff, right? And then when he's checking my back, I got shorts on, and he looks in my back of my leg. I'm clueless. And my entire calf was just filled with blood. I had retorn, right? And I was pushing myself to the point of exhaustion, and I just drove myself nuts, right? It turned out that I had bronchial pneumonia. One lung was completely filled with fluid, and the other was like half or 3/4 filled with fluid. My resting heart rate was 172 beats a minute.
Oh, God.
So from there, I get deathly ill, right, and catch shingles from messing with my buddy. And I'm like 21 or something, you know what I mean? And just, I'm on my deathbed and I'm battling. So my mom comes to see me, right, to take care of me. And she, you know, gives me the spiritual speech, you know, God has something greater for you, right? And I literally say, I don't give a F what God wants. This is my life, and I get to live it the way I want. She had just got there, right? Was unpacking her stuff. When I hit her with that, she packs her stuff back up, leaves. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, you and God are getting ready to have a talk. I'm going to leave you two at it. And she leaves me. So in my eyes, my mom just abandoned me. So I just keep spiraling down to the point where I'm on my deathbed. And I know I'm going to die, right? My eyes are closing. I'm in my own apartment. Some friends came to see me. I opened the door. They were like, oh, you got AIDS. I had open sores all over my body. It was scary, right? They wouldn't even come into my apartment. So they abandoned me, right? And so one night I'm on my couch watching TV and I'm fading out. And my voice says, you know you're dying, right? And I don't even want to hear you anymore. You didn't help me. I was on this path. I'm on my goal, right? I had this major struggle. And then eventually I kind of pass out on the couch. Well, I don't pass out on the couch because I get scared. And so I move to the floor, like maybe that's going to change things, right? So and my voice says, you're going to die. And all you have to do is surrender, right? I got you. But this battle you're having is going to cause your death. And I was like, my last thing I said to myself is, I don't want to die. I'm not ready to die. And I passed out. And then I woke up with the sound of back then the TVs go off at a certain time. But before that happened, a minister comes on and says something, gives some religious speech or something. And so I can hear that preacher in the background. And he was talking about surrendering to God. And that's when my eyes closed. And then I wake up to doo, right? Like, oh, I'm still here. And then I pass out. Okay. And I don't get up for another 24 hours, like the day after, right? I wake up. And then I go in the bathroom, I look up, and all of my sores are gone. Only I have a boil the size of a golf ball in my face. So it's like everything's and came right here. But all my sores were gone. And when I saw myself and I had energy and I was alive, I quickly went home, right? And it's like a 3-hour drive. So I go home. I go to the front door. I knock on the door. My mom comes to the door. She sees me. She says, wait. She goes in her room, comes out with her purse and says, come on. Takes me straight to the doctor. And then after that, I was like, I'm done. I'm done with that battle. I'm done with that ego, right? That whole thing. And it was just all about humility after that. Being humble, And then I left school and I left Wisconsin and went to California. And, eventually started training. Helping other people try not to go through what I had just gone through, Because I went back to compete, right? And pick up, competing and training. And I got a whole new, track club. I joined Athletes in Action. They were more Christian based. So it was, my spiritual path at the time. And first meet, I go to compete down in Southern California. And the first jump, pow! Come down the runway, right? Take off, popped it again. And so this time, I just kept walking. I walk off the track. I walk into an open field. And I said, you promised. This is my conversation. You promised you would show me why. You're not getting the same reaction out of me. I'm not mad. I'm not going to get upset. I'm not going to care about that part. But you promised me you would show me why. And that I'm going to hold you to. And I came back and I took a job, right? Because I'm thinking I can't do that no more. So I take a job in San Francisco, Fortune 500 company. and I'm working, I'm making good money, things are different, now I'm buying stuff, but it doesn't last long because my spirit won't let me do it. And so the day that I leave that job, the next day I get up and I feel super stupid because I'm from the Midwest. You don't quit a job without a job. So I go to the track at the junior college and I do a workout. And at every workout, at the end of the workout, me and my voice, we talk, so I'm stretching. Okay, now what do I do? Looking up in the sky, and my voice says, do what you love and the money will come. So I say, that's stupid. Because what I love to do, I can't do no more. Big help you are, right? So I pack my stuff up, and I actually say that, I'm having that conversation, right? I get a chuckle out of it, because I'm checking God again, right? And I'm walking off the track, and this guy comes up to me and he goes, hey, you really look like you know what you're doing. And I said, what do you need? He says, well, I'm trying to train for the NFL, but I need to get faster. Right, I'm a running back from the University of Wisconsin, and he was a Samoan kid named Junior Tautalutasi. And I said, well, let me see what you're doing, right? Let me see you run, kind of thing. And I tell him, I said, yeah, I can help you. And why don't you come back tomorrow, and we'll just do this because I don't have anything else to do. And in 2 weeks, he told everybody what was going on here at the junior college with me. And I had 16 guys training, right, all trying to get into the NFL, most of them Samoan, you know what I mean? And that's how it all started. But in the first 10 years, I didn't even have a business card.
Just a beautiful accident, but not really an accident.
And there was my career.
Wow. And I think it's funny because so many people, they go out and search so often for career or search for anything. And I think when you sit back and you take a step back and you just sit and kind of surrender to life and let life unfold, what God, universe, source, the creator, along with your energy allows to be created is so much.
It's like it's already written, right? Infinite, the infinite no thing, right? Wanted to express itself. That's why we have this, right, kind of thing. We want it to express itself through you in a certain way. So yeah, there's a path. There's a destiny, right? As long as you surrender to that understanding, it don't matter which direction you go, right? It's coming your way regardless. So for me, my mom would tell me, you're going to be this person regardless of how much you fight to be that person. It's in you. You were born with it. Your grandmother knew it. I knew it. They thought I was supposed to be a preacher. And I was like, ain't no way I'm doing that. That's crazy. Nah, that's not me, right? And I was 100% against it. But as I grew and grew into my wisdom, I realized a preacher is nothing but a teacher. So yeah, I'm a preacher and a teacher with a strong understanding of the fact that God lives inside of you. Otherwise, you would not be animated. Yeah, you're not walking, you're not talking, you're not doing any of this. You didn't create none of this, right? Your ego. Man doesn't make anything. Everything you see in existence, it was first imagined. So that should teach you something. You had to go to somewhere. You had to go to the individual, the process, the force that has all the resources. And then ask it for some resources and then it starts showing up. And that's how the process works. And like I said, for me, it's been, a lifelong understanding of that. And now, at my age now, I get to actually live that out without fault. That's the practice, to live it with no fault, to get rid of it. It's not about the stuff you accomplish. It's not about the amount of money you make. It's just about the fact that it's just about perfecting the ability to take energy and form it into something, no matter what it is. And that's why you see me creating everything, right? I sent you the videos, of that. I said books. I write them. Whatever pops in my head, I'm writing. Put it out. I got books of poetry, books of manifestation, children's books, right? It's just whatever pops in my head. That's the source wanting to express itself.
It's often referred to as, it's like the flow state is what it's referred to. And the flow state is what a lot of artists will try to obtain, is how can I get to that space where I'm creating not strictly, but I'm creating from the inspiration of source.
Right.
And in those states, you write things that you have no idea where they came from. I can attest to that. Did a whole book.
When I was younger, I did that, I did that a lot when I was younger. And I was afraid to even show people because I was fearful of criticism. My friends saw it and got to read it, and they were like, "You don't publish this stuff?" I was like, "Are you nuts? Publishing that?" I was still in this little box, this athletic box, And so it took me a very long time to get over that concern or fear about putting what I wrote into existence. It's for whoever God wanted it to be for.
See, those are my personal barriers that I'm hitting right now, is releasing the written work out into the world, or even projects, just out of fear of judgment or fear of, imposter syndrome. Very real thing.
But the greater we believe in the self, right? The greater we move away from belief, faith, and into knowing who we are and what this is about, and that it's not me, my ego, right? I get to actually, the beautiful aspect to duality, right, is I actually get to experience like I didn't really do it.
Yeah.
The kind of thing. That's the illusion. What a beautiful illusion, because then I can actually give praise to myself or the self, right? I can actually be humbled by it, give praise to it, and be just in awe of it. Damn, I'm good. That kind of thing. So when I first released poetry books, and didn't even know what I was doing. Didn't have a clue. They're out there. I don't ever look at them again. I don't even go back and look at the books now. What's your books doing? I don't have a clue. Could care less. It doesn't make a difference to me. And then one day I started checking myself about, now people are going to judge it or criticize it and say, you suck. You're not good at this. Why would you ever do this? Did you ever go to school for this? That kind of thing. I had all that in my head, right? But that confirmation came rather quickly after I had done that. So that was, the divine's way of saying, I told you. Everything I say has a purpose and a place, you know what I mean? So I'm not just spitting this out for no reason. That's a life changer for somebody I needed to say something to. So you're just the vessel I'm doing this through. So accept your role and let's just flow. And so when I give you something, shut up and just write it.
What a powerful thing to give space and give creation to the words that are popping into your head, because I think a lot of people receive those messages or receive those points of creation, and to take that next step of putting it into a physical manifestation, whatever that is, video, written, whatever, a lot of people are still fearful of. And I think not even fearful of, but also just don't go and do the practice of actually documenting it.
And I think every one of us on the planet has that experience to some degree. And I think for the most of us, it spooks us. Because we don't have an understanding, education behind it, or an understanding of where to put it. Because we're not trained in the divine. We're not trained in God. We're not trained in Allah. We're not trained in the understanding of the no thing, right? We don't have that. Spirituality is one thing, religion is another thing, right? Spirituality was understanding of nature. Nature is God, or source, or whatever you call the Amun-Ra, or whatever name you want to give that entity. But that understanding, we're kind of clueless about the whole thing, right? Until we have a godlike moment. And then when we have a godlike moment, our godliness that's within us scares even us. Because we're not trained for it. So we go, oh, that was weird.
That's wrong, that's crazy. I
or whatever, you know what I mean? That's spooky. And one thing we do not ever want to seem is spooky, right? So when you're young, as a child, and you're exhibiting this kind of behavior, it scares the S out of your parents. So they immediately nip it in the bud by criticizing it or saying something negative about it, and you retreat from ever doing that because it didn't get you the response that you wanted. And that's because your parents aren't trained in the understanding of self, and that the fact that that magic lives in you and will express itself regardless of you. So one time, so you go to sleep and it just says, oh, I feel like writing right now. It wakes you up and makes you write. And it doesn't matter which hand you use. That's a concept you created. Right? I created this vessel to flow through you. So if you get on board, if you get in touch with whatever you desire in life is yours. Everything. Anything. And that's really what scares people. What's the Marianne Williamson quote? It's not our darkness that we're afraid of, but our light. It's the fact that we're God. We're not the source, but we're the extension of source. We're not the ocean, we're just a drop in the water. But we share the same components, right? And that's what governments are afraid of. It's what the military-industrial complex is afraid of. You waking up to the fact that you're God, and you can make magic without them. You don't need them. You don't need somebody to provide a way for you, right? You're already the way.
When you believe those things you can't become, you won't be as complacent.
There's no
complacency, there's no followers.
But that's where the fear is. Because this is not the first time any of this has been done. That's one understanding we need to get, that there's nothing new under the sun. So nothing that's happening right now is something new. Never in the history of, well, oh my God. Well, that's if you hide the history, right? Then you can say that to us and we believe it. This is the first time this has ever happened, right? So it's not. There's nothing new under the sun. And so we have to get people to understand just that, right? And so what the governing bodies are afraid of, because they know what comes with it, once we evolve, and that's all I listen to, that's the only downloads that I'm allowing into my sphere, and my friends can attest, that's all I study, that's all I read about, that's what I'm listening to constantly on audible books or podcasts or whatever.
You're consuming what you'd want to create.
Evolving into that understanding, period. But what governing bodies know is once humanity realizes who it is, it turns back and looks at you like, oh, you gotta go. You're tripping. And that's what they're afraid of. That's what they're deeply afraid of, because that's what the history that they've hidden away from us, right, has proven. Look at what man will do. These expansive civilizations that are now rubble and all over the world, but now because of the age of information, we're finding out about all this stuff, and we're like, wait. None of this lives forever. We live forever. Everybody who's ever created is infinite, because you came from infinite.
Beautiful.
You return to infinite.
What do you hope a listener would take away from our conversation today?
One main thing is that within you is divine, infinite and divine, all powerful, all knowing, all present. You are nothing but the child of nature. You are the reflection of nature. You are always here, you have always been, you will always be. The concepts that we create in our head are what life is. That's what is reflected back to us. Our concepts, right? We believe that this is reality, and this is not reality. There's no way to tell somebody who's been grounded and working real hard and trying to evolve and all of that stuff that this is the illusion. The reality to us is the essence of us. So your imagination is infinite. Your imagination teaches you that you're infinite because it's all powerful. There's no limit to your imagination, just like there's no limit to your desires. You wake up every day and have 50 desires you never had before, and you're like, what? And they just keep coming and keep coming and keep coming, because the nature of Source is that it's infinite. And so when it's trying to express itself through you, right, you're getting all of these waves of information every single day, and you're just a radio tower receiving it all, right? And then you get to choose what it is you want. And it doesn't matter. So if we taught you very young about this process, you could play with it. And I hope that people would start, playing with their own process and seeing that and realizing who they really are, and moving away from what organizing bodies are, trying to control us or rule us or do whatever, are the game they're playing. And yeah, there's a seriousness to that too, but nothing is more powerful or more serious than what you are inside. Nothing. What did it say? No weapon formed against you. You're good.
What a powerful belief. Again, I feel so lucky to be able to hear these words, and it's a path that I've dabbled
you're
with.
Getting there, because you were born fearless, so that messed you up right there, right? You don't have a problem. It's admirable to watch you do it. It's admirable, but being that person, right, frightens us, and I think the true reason that it does is because we see it as loneliness, right? We see it, and loneliness, right, we see as a negative, but that's the nature of being infinite. So there is a sense of loneliness that comes just with the nature of being, right? So we believe that this is going to cast us into loneliness, one, because the world doesn't, really play ball with us when we're expressing it, not in the beginning, right? But it's not about the world. It's about you growing from a belief in your talent and your skill set, and then into faith that it will lead you in the right direction, until knowing that I absolutely am. Because you're on the path, so it don't matter how you get rattled, shook, or whatever. You already are the person who's going to continue the path. Like, you just have that. Ain't nothing gonna stop you. You might get shook along the way, right? And in those times when you get shook, you can call me and you can go, look, I'm shook. And I'm like, well, who are you? And you say, well, I am. And shut the hell up and go do it.
Go do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, just wow. Thank you so much. I think so many incredible words of wisdom to offer to others, so I deeply, deeply appreciate it.
Beautiful.
Thank you, we did it! Awesome.